One of my favorite ways to teach the deadlift to new lifters, similar to the squat, is to use 20-second pause kettlebell sumo deadlifts. So why kettlebell sumo deadlifts? Because we find that with a slightly wider stance, it's a little bit easier to hinge into the hips without squatting. And when you hold a position for 20 seconds, that's a long time to internalize and kind of build that body awareness and learn proper technique versus some of the common errors that we see in the deadlift. So we're going to take a wider than shoulder width stance with the toes turned out a fair bit, and the handle of the kettlebell lined up with the midfoot. So bell's not too far in front of us, it's not too far behind us, just right in the middle of our feet, so that when I soften my knees and I hinge back, I can reach it in a good deadlift position. So my hips above my knees and my back relatively flat, so not rounded, not excessively arched, just somewhere in the middle. And the two places where I like lifters to pause is just off the floor. We usually say about 2 inches off the floor, and then right at the knees, because those are the two places where we find deadlifts tend to fall apart the most. So right off the ground, the most common thing that you see is that people's hips will shoot back too early and or the back will round. So if I do this, all that stress is going to go from my hamstrings and my glutes into my lower back, and if I have to hold that for 20 seconds, that's going to be a pretty unpleasant feeling to feel all that stress in my back. So it gives lifters a chance to correct in the moment and learn to shift that stress back into the hamstrings. So I just tighten into the bell, I lift it off the ground, and I'm just going to hold that right there for 20 seconds, focusing on feeling my hamstrings holding me up the whole time. If I feel that stress in my lower back, chances are it's because I'm too rounded over, or I might be too extended as well. I might be arching my back too much when I don't need to. And when I overly arch my back, it just undoes the core tension that I should be having when I do any sort of big lift. Now, second position, like I said, is right at the knee, and that helps me understand how to get my hips and shoulders to rise at the same time. Now, it's certainly possible to be an effective deadlifter with a fairly stiff-legged position, but if I'm too straight with my legs and I go to pick it up and I try to pause at the knee, the weight's going to be too far out in front of me, and it's going to make the lockout a little bit messy. So by pausing right at the knee, it helps me keep that weight close to my center of mass and get my hips and shoulders to rise at the same rate. And same deal, I should be feeling my glutes and my hamstrings, not so much my lower back. And if I hold that for 20 seconds, it gives me a chance to adjust and make corrections. That's what these drills ultimately are for, is to help the lifter self-correct in the moment without verbal feedback from a coach. Because when you're lifting really, really heavy, especially with the barbell lifts, for low reps, especially heavy singles, heavy sets of 1 rep, you're not going to have the time to listen for corrections. You're going to have to make those corrections in the moment. So drills like 20-second pause squats, 20-second pause deadlifts are a great way to build that body awareness.